Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
The other day, I had breakfast with a friend of mine, Vanessa Sutton. She's been a guest on this program, and we just happenstance, just like, hey, we should go to breakfast. And there's a little place that she said we should go to this little place. And great, I'm up for breakfast. That's my favorite meal, having breakfast. And I've known Vanessa for a number of years, and know little tidbits about Vanessa. I think anytime you share a meal with somebody, that's a networking tip. It's, sitting down and having a meal with somebody. I learned more about her. She's got a daughter who, there's just a ton of stuff. I won't get into all that stuff. Vanessa probably wouldn't appreciate me sharing it all, but learned a lot more about her. But at one point during the conversation, as we were working through our respective breakfasts, she leaned forward and revealed something to me. And she revealed something to me that, in her mind, it was like she was sharing, like, I've got a gambling problem kind of a thing. It wasn't that. But what she did was she revealed to me, she said, I'm an introvert. Like it was some sort of a bad thing. And I don't know that I suspected that of her. But in her mind, she felt that everybody suspected that she was an extrovert. And she was just kind of letting me know that she wasn't. That ties into our guest today. I have on the program again she was on for the first time, Ashley Harwood, and she's an introvert, not just an introvert, but she is an introverted real estate agent, and she struggled to find success in an industry that seems to be built for extroverts. And when we think of really anybody in sales, car salesperson, whatever, you're thinking somebody who's really outgoing, and maybe that's true, but that's not really the definition of an extrovert. As I've shared on this program, I'm an introvert. I'm recording this on a Friday. I will tell you what I'm doing tonight. I'm watching a movie. I let my wife into my world and my dog into my world, and that's it. So anyhow, we're going to have a fascinating talk about introverts and real estate. I will mention that Ashley has a book. It's called Move Over Extroverts: How to Build a Real Estate Career as an Introvert. Did I get that right?
Yeah, a successful real estate career.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Well, welcome back.
Thank you.
So, you're out in Boston right now. When we first spoke, you were in California. And you originally on the podcast as this introvert trying to help introverts. I don't know that I knew you were a real estate person per se, but I do now. I guess what prompted the book and.
Yeah, that's my background. I have been a real estate agent for almost 12 years, and about six or 7 years ago, I started helping my fellow agents who were also introverts. So it started as just one class that I would teach in real estate offices, and now it's grown to a bunch of different things, and including the latest, which is the book.
Okay, great. What prompted you to write the book? Just trying to encapsulate everything that you were learning and sharing?
Yeah. The book had been in my mind for many years, and it was just finding the right timing to commit to the project, because it does take a lot of time and effort to write a book.
Well, I mean, I don't want to pick on anybody, but some people come out with books and they're booklets, right? This is 254 pages. This is a book. Right.
It's a book. Yeah.
You bring on a long flight or a long train ride or on vacation or whatever. It's a big book. So, what I struggle with, as an introvert, and I was sharing this before we hit record, was is just dealing with energy management. And I know that's something you talk a lot about in the book. You know, I don't want to say I burn out, but I can just feel myself growing tired. Um, but here's a horrible admission for you, Ashley. I was at my niece's wedding. It was downstairs at a bar, and I just went up and sat at the bar and watched football because I've just had enough. I've had enough talking to people. I just want to be by myself.
Yeah. I think that's actually a perfect example because a lot of times people feel guilt around taking that time. And
Hmm.
they feel like maybe if something is draining my energy, that also equates to me not enjoying the activity. And
Yeah,
it's just not true. You can be doing something very enjoyable. And at the same time, it's sucking the energy out of you. So it's really good to be aware of that and then be able to take action and make some change. I did the same thing last night. I was at my third networking event for the day, which is a lot for me. And it was a business expo, so very loud, lots of booths. I walked around for about an hour and then it was at a hotel. So I went to the hotel bar and I sat there by myself and I ended up chit-chatting with one person who was sitting next to me and that's it. And then I left and went home.
yeah. And there are people who thrive in those environments. We have a house full at Thanksgiving for about 4 or 5 days, and I need to go for a walk, right? I just need to get away. And they all seem to just, love the commotion. It's like, oh my gosh. Um, are
It's
there other
crazy.
tips for, managing energy? I mean, obviously recognizing and sequestering yourself or secluding yourself.
Yeah, I think the biggest tip that I can give quickly is to think of your energy like time or money and really treat it as the resource that it is, where it's finite in every given moment. We only have a certain amount. So it's up to us to determine what's the highest and best use of that energy. How am I going to spend it? And
Yeah.
then when do I need to take a break and recharge?
Yeah. No, I think there's definitely something to that. Um, I would imagine when there are realtors who stumble across you or your work, you're like this oasis to them,
Yeah.
because they all feel. And I said this before hit record. We don't have stamps on our forehead that says we're introverts. It's just we are. Everybody looks the same, and then it comes out when you get into a crowd.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't really talk about it, especially in the business world. And the work that I do transcends many industries. It's not just for real estate. But I do feel like people feel validated,
Yeah.
and I get that feedback. Oftentimes they'll say, "Oh, I didn't realize that this was okay," or "I thought there was something wrong with me," or whatever. And I can kind of give them that validation that I felt years ago when I realized I'm an introvert. And then a lot of what I was feeling made a lot of sense. And then I was able to make some changes.
And we may have touched upon this when we first talked, but when was that revelation that, oh my gosh, you know, I'm an introvert.
It was a couple years into my career.
Okay.
So I had been selling real estate, building this business, and I was burning myself out and I didn't realize why. I couldn't get to the root cause until I realized that I'm an introvert and I wasn't managing my energy at all because I didn't even know that that was a thing.
Hmm. Interesting. So there was never a point, I guess my impression in preparing for this, that, you were somebody who is an introvert saying, oh my gosh, I really want to be a realtor, but how am I going to handle this? Um,
No, I
okay.
was a realtor first. And
Yeah.
if somebody had asked me, which they never did, I would have said, yeah, I'm an extrovert. I like being around people.
Right.
But it's not the same thing.
Yeah. Well, I enjoy being around people too. And I tell my wife this, and my she's a little more shy than I am, though she doesn't have a problem being in that chaos. Is I enjoy having conversations with people. I enjoy having one-on-one conversations with people. where it's a conversation, not somebody kind of looking for every angle to keep talking, but an even give and take. I really enjoy those sorts of things. With the right people, there are certain people out there that can be draining. Um, I enjoy it. It's just when it starts to get to be multiple people that it kind of starts to. It's like I'm trying to keep track of everything that's going on, and maybe people are better at that than I am, or maybe they're just better at tuning out the noise. I just find that it's too much. It's too much.
Everyone's different. It's so interesting because I'm with you. If there's too much going on or there's ambient noise in the background, it's really hard for me to concentrate, and it takes so much more energy to have a conversation versus in a quiet room. Um, but even one-on-one conversations, which I really enjoy, I will feel energized a little bit in the moment and immediately after. I think it's more adrenaline based.
Mm.
And then I will crash a little bit afterwards. I feel that slump, that energetic slump where it's like that release of breath. And I don't know if this is making sense to anybody, but this is how my body interprets it.
No,
And
it
it's
makes total,
interesting.
yeah, it makes total sense to me. Um, I have a brother and I have a sister, and they're not like me. I mean, I don't mean that in a bad way, but my sister is very extroverted, and she said to me, it wasn't so long ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I'm 63, so she just said, I finally realized that you just need to be able to have your own space. That you just need to, that you are just going to disappear from time to time.
Yeah.
And I'm not mad, I'm not anything. I'm just, you know, your word for it, manage my energy.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's so
yeah,
important to realize about oneself and loved ones. Because even if people listening are like, well, I'm very much not an introvert, you probably have an introvert in your close circle somewhere.
yeah, yeah. Um, what are the advantages of being an introvert? I am biased, so I have my thoughts on it, but
I'm biased too. I think and there's research that shows we tend to be really good listeners and we go deeper with fewer people. So we're really great relationship builders. We are not great at working a room or talking to 100 people or collecting 100 business cards. But at the end of the day, I feel that the introvert strengths of making a few solid connections is actually better in terms of networking in general and building business.
I totally agree. Couldn't said it better myself. I think and that's what I shared with Vanessa on our call. Who I've bought a copy of your book. Before she hears this, she'll have a copy of the book. Is I think introverts have an advantage, and just because we're willing to, we're not necessarily willing, we're just equipped to not having to be talking all the time, not having to be. A lot of times, I'll equate extroverts to being sharks, and I don't mean sharks in the Shark Tank sense, but a shark needs to keep moving to breathe. And it's a lot of times extroverts, they just need people around to get their energy. And if they're not talking, if they're not, if wild things aren't happening, just all of a sudden it's I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I've got to get a word in edgewise. Whereas introverts are, yeah, we're okay, it's okay, it's okay that there's this moment of silence in a conversation. um, how do you coach your clients, your introverted real estate agents? I'm sure there's others as well. I would imagine there are others, because somebody's going to come to you and say, you know what, I'm not a real estate agent, but I'm an attorney and I'm an introvert too. Can you help me? Um, but how would you coach them to build relationships and build networks? Because I do hear a lot of people, mainly introverts, saying, I don't like to go into big rooms. I don't like to have that. I don't want that.
Well, yes, you're right. I work with people in all industries. And so, a couple of pieces of advice. One would be to see the big networking event as a tool. I'm not saying everyone has to use this tool. However, it is a tool that's beneficial. It's like a pond. It's a place where you can go meet a couple people and then don't try to build a relationship in the big room. You're building the relationship afterwards when you follow up and you meet for coffee or have a meal.
Hmm.
And so I see the big networking events as just a place to expand my sphere by a couple people and to get some face time with people I already know. So it's good for relationship building. It's very highly leveraged because it's a lot of people in one place at one time. So I find it to be a good use of energy and time for that reason. I can just know going in that it's going to be exhausting and just get it done. Don't stay for the whole event. I usually leave after an hour, do what I need to do, and then bail. Um, if one of my clients absolutely does not want to do that, I will never force them to. I will say, look, great, let's find alternatives. There are many other ways to find potential clients and build relationships. So maybe start with something you do enjoy, something that's a hobby or a church or some sort of group where you're around other people and you have something in common. And that makes it a lot more comfortable. And when it's more comfortable, it's more sustainable.
Yeah, no, I love the advice, leave after an hour. So
Yeah.
now I don't feel guilty. I spoke at a conference and I want to network. I'm there, I don't want to speak and just dash. So I wanted to be around, but at some point it's like, I feel like I'm almost doing myself a disservice because when I start running out of energy, it's like I'm not the person I need to be. So
Mhm.
I need to exit stage left or right or whatever, right? But I'm like, oh, this feels so bad. I'm the networking guy. I shouldn't be doing this. Um, but I'm just not my best. So,
I think it's great that you're taking care of your own needs first. That's important.
um, well, you're right. There are lots of other things. People will say, well, the networking event, there's tons of, it's scalable was the term you used. I'm showing up. It's Friday at 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. I'm going to make all the connections I need for the next week. What a great use of time. And the introvert might say, yeah, I've got to do so much more to try and keep up. Well, what's your commentary, I guess, on time management and how the introvert would handle that? Or maybe it's not an issue at all. I don't know.
I think it's a tough one to answer because it's so individual specific. Um, but I always encourage people to think of, yes, time management, but also energy management. So think about this upcoming event, and if you're deciding whether or not to attend, whether or not it's worth it, just ask not only is the cost of the ticket worth it, is the time worth it, but also knowing how much energy it's going to take, is that going to be worth it? Or should you take that time and energy and set up 3 coffee dates over the next week? Like, what's going to have a better return? And there's so many variables, like who's going to be at the event. And
Yeah.
so it's tough to say in a blanket statement, but I do think that there are ways to keep in touch with people and stay top of mind that are not in person.
Yeah.
Social media is a good example of that.
Yeah.
Posting on social about your life and your updates, and then also going into your contacts and playing with the algorithm. I'm thinking more of Facebook, playing with the Facebook algorithm, liking and commenting. And when you do that on other people's pages, people you're trying to stay in touch with, they're going to see your stuff more often just because of how it works. But that's
Interesting.
easy because it's like you can do it from home on your phone and you don't have to really talk to anyone.
Yeah. Well, no, it's 24/7, right? You can be sitting watching the ball game, which, I'll watch hockey game or something like that, and I can sit and be doing those sorts of things. I learned something today. That's great. I think when people go to networking events, my metaphor is it's like the buffet, right? Oh my God, look at all this food at the buffet. This is awesome. You can still only eat so much.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, right? You can only eat so much. And it's the same thing with network events. You can only talk to so many people in a meaningful way. And if you
Mhm.
want to be the card dealer who's talking to lots and lots of people and going a mile wide and an inch deep, yeah, you can do that. But I mean, to truly build relationships, which is ultimately what networking is, you need to, you can only talk to so many people. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much food's on the buffet. You can only really eat so much. So.
Right. And how much capacity you have depends on how much you have going into the event. Like, did you already eat a big meal? I like this analogy, so I'm rolling with it. Did you already eat a lot that day, or are you starving and you haven't eaten? And then take what you need and then give yourself permission to leave and be done.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's, well, and someone who eats too much gets sick, right? Continuing on the analogy. So if you're going there and you're doing too much, then it's like, I don't feel good.
Yeah. So when you're full, leave.
Yeah, there you go. Let's shift gears here quickly. Let's talk about, you've got the book, Move Over Extroverts, How to Build a Successful Real Estate Career as an Introvert. It is on Amazon. It is on Kindle. I believe, I'm pretty sure it's on Kindle.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm looking at it right now. Ultimately, there'll be an audiobook for those who are into that. Hang on, Ashley will get that done. But you have the book. Nobody makes money with the book. Well, you make some money, but you don't make real money. Talk to us about who you work with, how people can get a hold of you, types of things that you do, types of programs.
Yeah, absolutely. So my website is moveoverextroverts.com, and you can find all my resources and programs. I run a Facebook group for introverted real estate agents. It's called Introverts in Real Estate. It's super creative, the name. And
they can find you. That's good.
They can find me. I do some one-on-one coaching with introverted business owners, business planning sessions, and then I have a group coaching program that meets twice a month. So lots of stuff happening, and I'm excited about the book. It took over a year to write, so it's all my best stuff in there.
Yeah. I would imagine you get out and speak to groups as well.
I do, yes. I teach classes, I speak at conferences, so I would love more opportunities to speak if anyone needs a good speaker.
Okay, good. People can get a hold of you through moveoverextroverts.com.
Yep, they could also email me directly, Ashley@moveoverextroverts.com.
Okay, great. Well, it's great having you back. Maybe a third time.
Yeah.
So as you move along and reach back out, or I'll reach back out, but I appreciate your time.
That sounds great. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AMSPIRIT.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.